Hello badminton fans and welcome to test number 736. This is the Mizuno JPX V Edition badminton racket review. So who are we and what do we do? We test badminton equipment like strings, shuttlecocks, shoes, and of course lots of rackets. Over 750 in actual fact. Rackets tested on our site and in great detail like you've never seen before. If you go to our website and go onto the E-Zone, you can sign in and see all this information for free. You can also advertise your club for free, and you can also advertise any forthcoming tournaments for free. We do ask of you to subscribe to our YouTube channel, subscribe to our website, press the like button, and if you can afford it, please do donate whatever you can so we can keep our work going forward. Thank you. We sell this racket for £135 and we will ship it from either the UK or from Asia, depending on which one works out cheaper. Otherwise, the availability in Japan is very good, but we don't have any links with suppliers there. And otherwise, it's pretty difficult to get hold of these rackets, which is a real shame. Mizuno, if you're watching, sort your distribution out, people. Now, in terms of the manufacturer's specs on this racket, it's a 4U racket, overall weight 4U. Balance point, head heavy. It has a medium stiff shaft. All of the Mizuno rackets are supplied with G5 grip sizes, and it has a 30 pounds maximum tension, manufactured in China. I'm just trying to see if there's anything else of any great relevance you guys may want to know about. No, can't see anything on that. Now the E-Zone specs on this racket, it weighed in at 88.6 grams. We found it to be quite head heavy at 315 mil, so significantly towards the head, but we found the shaft to be measuring to be flexible, not medium flex. Now in terms of the design, it's a matte finish black. It's got some nice detail on it. Mizuno's styling is very much like Yonex, very much like Goosen's, Redson. That kind of style of racket is produced amazingly well. They don't put a lot of color into it. The detailing isn't massive, but what they do is absolutely astonishing and beautifully well presented. Take a look at these JPEG shots and you'll see what I'm talking about. So how does this racket play? Well, in terms of how it feels, it actually felt reasonably heavy to use on court. It doesn't feel, there's a weight. You do feel like you're carrying a weight around. That's probably because of the head heavy balance, and that's how it can make a racket feel. It feels heavier than it actually is. Balance makes a difference to the feel of a racket in terms of how light and how heavy it feels, and also obviously the impact on the shuttlecock is affected by balance point. In terms of shaft stiffness, it actually felt medium flex in its response. It didn't feel massively flexible and certainly nowhere near stiff. Its airspeed, again, I think it's the balance, but we all felt it felt slow-ish in the air. It didn't feel as quick as we would expect given the specs of the racket. 88.6 is not the lightest by any means, but certainly not the heaviest either. It should feel a little bit heavier, and again we'd attribute that to the balance point. So how does it perform in all shots? Well, actually it scored a very respectable score on the E-Zone. Its primary strength came in terms of its defensive capabilities were really good. It got behind, we could get behind the shuttle, get nice clears off on the defense. We could drive well with this racket, and the overhead shots also were absolutely superb. Really easy forehand, really easy backhand, and even off center shots, they weren't as bad as we were expecting them to be, and the control levels were outstanding with this racket. Really solid control from the back, dropping in at the net. Solid control. Smash shots were good. They're not bullets, but they're good enough. Beginners, I'm afraid if you're watching any of the Mizuno videos, they're not suitable for, I don't think beginners are going to get as much pleasure out of them as beginners may need. Beginners are complex people to recommend rackets for. You don't know how much exposure they've had to the game, you don't know how much exposure they've had to rackets, and have they had time to develop their skills, have they not? So you need to understand where you're at. If you're brand new to badminton, definitely not. If you have tried a few rackets and you kind of got a gist of what works for you, maybe. If you're the kind of beginner who's lacking power, you know you're not being coached yet, you haven't been taught how to stand, how to rotate, when to use the wrist and elbow, and so on and so forth, and the shoulder rotation. If you haven't got all that taught yet, you're not getting very good airspeed from your racket, then you may want to consider this racket, because it is quite heavy, it is quite head heavy, it's not that stiff. All those things will help project the shuttle further with very little input required from the player. So only in that category would I recommend a beginner. I know a lot of coaches do recommend beginners have head heavy rackets because they get more flight, but don't forget, in return the defense can suffer for a beginner, so there's always a balance to consider. Strong intermediate players through to professionals, I would say this is a great racket. For singles, thumbs up, and for doubles, it's also going to be a thumbs up. Now, it competes directly with its own range really at £135, because the other rackets that we've tested, the Tectonic 7s, they're a little bit more expensive, and the other fellets, the J-Nice Black Panther, they're significantly cheaper. So where does that leave us in recommending this racket? Well, I think there are players, we know there are players who have said to us, you guys only like soft rackets, you guys only like flexible rackets, we want harder core reviews. Well, I would say that the Astrox fans, the 99 Astrox fans, the 100ZZ fans, try this instead, the V edition. It's your kind of racket. It's quite head heavy bias. It feels quite weighty to it, and I think if you're kind of person who can build up some real power and generate big bangs with your shots, then this is the kind of racket that might work well for you. It will certainly work better for you than the 100ZZ would. I know Victor Axelson's racket is the Yonex 100ZZ, but you guys, let's be honest, are not Victor Axelson. You're not training 8 hours a day, and you're not #1 in the world or #2 or wherever he is now in the rankings. We're talking about high quality players playing at high standard club level who've got big power. I think you should consider this racket. Outside of that, if I was you and I was a Mizuno fan, even if I wasn't at £135, if you like this kind of feel, you want a stable feel, you want a Japanese designed and engineered racket, then I would recommend the Mizuno Altius 03 Control. It is absolutely superb, definitely easier work, definitely not as head heavy biased, and definitely not as much of a shoulder killer as this racket will probably become for many players. That's the racket I would personally recommend. But maybe your view is different. Let us know. Have you tried this racket? Let us know what your thoughts are. It's an interesting racket, and that's why I've babbled on longer than I normally would on the conclusion. Now, if you want to see the smash, the maneuver shot for this racket, please go across the eZone. It's free of charge. Sign in. All of you who are asking comparative questions like how does this compare to this racket to another racket, go to the eZone. That will answer the questions a lot better for you. If you want to advertise your club, it's free on the Badminton Racket Review platform. If you want to advertise a tournament, it's free of charge too. If you're going to go to the eZone, use a desktop or a laptop. Mobile phones don't work great at the moment. There's just too much info. We put so much info into the eZone, putting it onto a little screen, it's just hard. It just doesn't, it's much harder to read and understand what you're looking at on a phone. I know a lot of Asia use phones, and that is something we're going to address with an app down the road, hopefully this year, but we'll try our best. We'll see. It's hard at the moment in the UK to do anything related to badminton. Outside of that, a lot of love from Badminton Racket Review to all of you. We love you too. There's so much love we receive, so much positivity we receive. We don't mind the criticism we get, because some of it is very fair. We do miss, if we miss something or you've got a suggestion for us, we love all that. We can tell. We're not here to say we're not the gods of badminton. You guys are everything. We do this for you, the badminton community. The eZone is built for the badminton community. Badminton Racket Review is here to serve the badminton community. So please do keep up the sharing, do keep up the likes, do keep up the subscriptions. It's really, really appreciated. Thanks so much. We'll see you on the next video.